Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today, let's talk about this watch right here. This is the GWX5700CS-1. Now, what's the deal with this watch? Well, first of all, I just want to tell you, if you've seen some of my other videos, you probably know I've got a pretty good collection of G-Shock squares. And I like the G-Shock squares with Multiband 6 and tough solar. And there was one kind of G-Shock square that I just hadn't really paid much attention to, and that was the GWX5600. So I thought, okay, it does everything my other G-Shock squares do, basically. It doesn't have Bluetooth like some of them, but it's got, you know, it's got the Multiband 6, and it's got all the alarms and the tough solar, all that stuff in it. Plus it has the tide and moon data built in. So why don't I get one of these? And it also has that G-Shock square case, that whole aesthetic there. But as I got looking at it, I was a little bit concerned because I thought the case was just a little too busy looking, too many colors, just a little too much. It kind of reminded me in a sense of this watch here. This is an Archon Sight watch. This is actually the first radio-controlled watch I ever bought. And I think it was 1999, yeah. And, you know, there was another one from Yunkon's that was super expensive. This one was closer to, I think it was somewhere between $100 and $150. And so I bought this. And the problem with this watch is it just looks funny, right? Well, just a very busy face and the colors. And it's not a very attractive looking watch. It's also kind of lightweight. It just sort of feels cheap. But as you can see, all these years later, I've been putting new batteries in it every few years, and it's running just fine. It's a radio-controlled watch. It does the job I was looking for, and at the time, it was the most affordable, made the most sense to me to get this, and it automatically sets itself to the right time. But, you know, it wasn't long after that, within a year or two, I saw this other one from Casio, and oddly enough, this one here on the left does all the same things as this one. It's like they took the same exact functions from the circuitry and just put it inside with a different LCD screen there. So yeah, they all do the same things. And this one, I think from Casio, had a much better aesthetic to it. So those were my first two radio-controlled watches. But again, this one, while doing everything this one does, it just feels cheap and looks weird. Okay, so I just thought, does this G-LIDE watch, the G-Shock Square G-LIDE watch, the GWX5600, does this just look a little too strange with all the different colors? And so there are some variations on it, again with some outrageous colors, and I just thought, I don't know. The original one has been around for a while. I think some of these different color variations have maybe been limited edition. They probably cost a lot. And so I didn't spend a lot of time looking. I may still get that G-Shock Square, you know, this version with the outrageous colors. But in the meantime, I found this one here. So this is the 5700 model. And as you can see, much more subdued color combination. It's the same module, actually, but in this case that has more of a round feel to it. So I decided to start off getting a G-LIDE watch, my very first G-LIDE watch. I would start with this one. Now, there are some different variations of this one with the positive display. There's one with a negative display, but they have all the same functions and features. I see there's also a version here that was a Love the Sea and the Earth version. You know, and I've had Love the Sea and the Earth watches before. This was a genuine Love the Sea and the Earth G-Shock Square with an orca design to it. This one, I took a GW6900 and I modified it by buying the bezel and the watch band that usually goes with a Love the Sea and the Earth version. So this isn't genuine here, but I thought it was fun to put this jelly-like thing here and make my own one-of-a-kind version of that. So I don't mind the Love the Sea and the Earth versions, but I thought, let's just start off with, again, something simple, straightforward, and it's packed with features. I bought this from the Japanese market, so the tag that came with it has all this stuff from Japan on it. Right there, it says it's about 24,000 yen. So I figured that was just almost $180 if I did a simple conversion, and I found it for about $150 on eBay. Bought it from a reputable seller according to eBay ratings, and they shipped it like FedEx from Japan. It just came in a couple of days. So this is just fresh out of the box and very familiar, except it has the, you know, the moon and the tide information on there. But you know what? I already have a couple of G-Shocks that have that. This one here, the Gulfman. Okay, this has a lot of the same functions. It's a little bit different, of course, but it has the moon and the tide on there. And then this one here, also very similar to this guy here, except that it has a dedicated light button there. But again, we're looking at all basically the same functions and features. This one just a little bit unique compared to the other two. So let's get deep into all the functions and features and go in depth on this watch right here. All right, this particular model is, I'm told by shockbase.org that this was first released in the year 2018. So maybe they're not that hard to find still, you know, maybe they're readily available. But I was a little concerned that if I didn't act quickly, you know, maybe they would be discontinued. So that's why I decided, you know, like go ahead and do this right now. So, all right. You can see it's got a somewhat busy face, but pretty straightforward as far as what it's showing you here. There's the tide information there. There's the phase of the moon. We're just about at the new moon right now. So that's why it looks like all the slices of the moon graphic are darkened in like a new moon. And there you have the, you know, day of the week and the, you know, the date and the time. And right there, it's indicating that we're showing daylight saving time. So all the fun stuff there. Here you see the state of the battery, low, medium, or high. It's on high right now. So with that solar cell built into the face of the watch, it's going to keep itself on a good battery charge with exposure to just everyday lighting conditions. I'm not going to store this in a dark drawer. I'm going to make sure it gets a little bit of light every day. It doesn't have to be direct sunlight. It can just be, you know, normal lighting conditions in my house where I live and work, and that's enough to keep it going. Down here, you see the little indications that the hourly signal is activated. It's got that little marker next to that. And the alarms are not activated right now. There are 4 regular alarms plus a snooze alarm, and none of them are active right now. But I'll go through all the functions and features. So well, let's try the different modes. Okay, so if I go here to first mode, now this is where it shows me the tide and the moon information. And here, you know, it's showing me the high tide will be at 6 o'clock, but, you know, I can kind of scroll through here to other times, and it's going to indicate up here on this little tide graph, you know, what the state of the tide will be then. My understanding is the G-LIDE line of watches is marketed towards people who enjoy the ocean and especially surfers. So if this tide information is valuable to you because you're kind of an adventurer and a surfer, G-LIDE watch may be something to look into. Now right now, if I push the adjust button, just give that a tap, then it shows me the state of the moon. And we see that we're just about, you know, we're just a little shy of the official new moon here, 29.1 days into the lunar cycle here. That's what it's showing, and that's why it looks like a new moon right there. Now from here, if I use the search button, I can scroll ahead to other days. So there it's showing me that it'll be a new moon. It'll be 0.6 days tomorrow. And if I just keep going, you know, let's pick a date. Let's go to, say, May the 4th for you Star Wars fans, and see what is the moon going to be like that day. Pretty much the full moon, 14.6 days into the cycle, and you see how that changed the look of the moon graphic there. So that's a way you can, again, see what is the moon doing on different days. There you see it's, you know, starting to wane there at 20.6 days into the lunar cycle. So that's what you get in the tide and moon mode. And then that again takes me back to the tide information there. But if I go to the next mode, this is my world time mode, and it's set to UTC right now, and that shows me the, you know, the time in that time zone. If I push this button down here, the search button, it's as though I'm going eastward on the map to choose some other time zone. So London right now and UTC would be the same, except London's on summertime, or what we call daylight saving time. So if I want it to show me, you know, the daylight saving time for London, what I do is I just push, let's see, I push and hold the adjust button there. And now I can do that for any of these other world time zones if I know, you know, the daylight saving time or summertime for that. This one won't switch automatically like it would for your regular home time zone. but that is a way to just pick another time zone and again, adjust for daylight saving time as you go. Each time zone is named after a major city in that time zone. So those are the abbreviations up there indicating, that's the time in Hong Kong, and I can just go all around the world that way. Or if I tap these two right buttons at the same time, that'll just take me right back to UTC. And I'll leave it at that for now. My next mode is my alarm mode. And I haven't set the alarms on here yet, but it's very straightforward. If you're familiar with Casio watches, looks very similar to the alarm settings on all my other G-Shocks here. Here you have the local time there. And then, of course, alarm 1 would be set for midnight as default. But if I can scroll, press the search button, I scroll through the other alarm settings. Now, the snooze alarm, let's just say I want to set that for 8 o'clock in the morning. So easy enough, I can just make that setting there. And you'll notice that it is activated. It's turned on right now. And so alarm plus snooze indicator are showing there right now. And then if I want to turn that off, I just do that. So it's still going to be 8 o'clock when I decide to turn it back on again. But there you can see no alarms and the snooze alarm are not set to go. But if I scroll here using the search, that's my hourly signal, which I can turn on or off. And again, you see the indicator there showing, when I'm in some other mode, it'll still show me whether the signal and the alarms are set to go. Next mode is my stopwatch mode. This is a 1 hour stopwatch. So after 1 hour, if you don't stop it, it'll reset to 0 and just keep on going. Then you have the lap or split time up here by using the adjust button. And, I'll go back to there, it's running. Stop the alarm and I can reset it to 0 again using that adjust button. So pretty straightforward. But again, many of my G-Shocks are 24-hour stopwatches. This is only a 1 hour stopwatch, but I don't know. How often do you need to time something that lasts more than an hour? I guess you'll have to keep track of how many hours if you want to go more than an hour. So anyway, there you go there. And now it's the countdown timer. Now, this is a little bit different from the countdown timer on all my other G-Shocks that I have. This actually has 2 countdown timer settings. So this is the number 1 and it's set to 0 right now, but I can easily set that to something else. And so here's my minutes and here's my seconds. Now the seconds intervals go up by 5 seconds. Okay. So I can, I'm going to set that to 5 seconds right now. And, I could set that for minutes to something else. Now here's number 2. So this one, I'm going to set this back to 0. But what this would do, well, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? Just for demonstration purposes, I'll set this to 10 seconds. Okay, so right now, my first countdown timer is set for 5 seconds. My second one is set for 10 seconds, right? So then the next thing I can set here while things are still blinking is how many times I want it to repeat. So I can have it repeat 10 times, or I can have it just go once. So that's one time it'll do the first interval followed by the second interval 1 time, or it'll do 2 times or 3 times. So let's just do a quick demonstration of what that's going to look like. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to start this up right now. Okay, 5 seconds for the first interval. And it just gives a quick little beep there. Then 10 seconds for the second interval. Again, giving me that little beep there. So that's the first, the first set for repeating. And that's going to keep going and repeating up to 3 times. So we can just kind of watch how this goes. And you'll have a clear idea of what we're working with here for the repeating of those 2 different intervals. So here, what it's going to do after it reaches the end of this second interval, the 3rd time, it's going to stop entirely. And the beep will be a little bit different this time. And there you go. Now, if that's a little too complicated for you, all you need to do is, let's say I just want the one interval. Say let's just say it's going to be a minute, and I want that to repeat 4 times. So all you have to do is I'm going to set this to 1 minute and 0 seconds. I'm going to set the second iteration to just 0 seconds, right there. and then I'm going to set that to go 4 times. And so now if I start this, it'll go down, it'll count down 1 minute, and it'll do that 4 times, and then it'll give you those additional beeps at the end of that whole cycle. So yeah, I know it maybe sounds a little complicated the way I'm explaining it, but I think once you get used to it, that'll be a lot of fun. So I mean, if you want your alarm to repeat 10 times, you can do that. Say, I want it, 5 minutes, 10 times. You can do that. I want it 5 minutes, 20 times. Then all you have to do is set interval 1 to the same as interval 2, and set it to go 10 times. And then, that'll actually, make it effectively 20 times repeating. So I really like the idea that it repeats, but it repeats for a limited number of times. And I think I could find this very useful. So, I don't have any specific ideas today, but moving forward, I'm really going to like the fact that it repeats a specific number of times. I really like that. Okay, I'm going to go here to the next mode. Well, actually, no. The next mode is back to the regular timekeeping mode. So there I go. I've been through all the modes. Now let's talk about setting this up for the first time. And I think what I'll do, just to be, so I'm not too distracted here, I'll stop this timer while I'm going through the different setups here. So from your regular timekeeping mode, I'm going to press and hold this adjust button until things start to blink. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is set my time zone. In my case, it's the Mountain Time Zone for the continental United States. So the major city is Denver. I'm going to just say it's the Denver time zone. But I could scroll eastward on the map by pressing this search button, and I could make it Chicago. Let's see, can I go back? Yeah, I can go back westward on the map with the light button. So, I can, yeah. While things are still blinking, I press the mode button again, and now I'm telling it what I want it to do about daylight saving time. Do I want it to automatically change based on what it's receiving from that multiband 6 reception, or do I want daylight saving time to always be off or always be on? I'm going to leave it on automatic because my reception is great here for multiband 6. Then we have 12 or 24-hour display. Select that right there. Then I can manually set the time. So seconds, hours, minutes, also the year, month, and date. I can manually set those to whatever I want, but those will be overwritten by whatever it receives from its atomic time source the next time that happens. But if for some reason I needed to set it manually, that's how I do it. Next is key. So it beeps every time I change modes, and when I start and stop a stopwatch and things like that, it'll beep. But I can, so that shows key, but I can mute that right there. And when I do, you get a little, it looks like a musical note with a line through it. So in that case, it's not going to make as many beeps as I'm going through all the modes and things like that, but it will still beep at the end of a countdown timer, or it will beep, when the alarms go. But other than that, it's going to stay quiet for all these other button pushing operations. So next, the backlight. The backlight can stay on for 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds, and I can make that adjustment right there. Some people like the shorter duration because it drains the battery less. But since this is solar powered and it's easily recharged, I'll leave it on the longer duration. That's fine with me. And then here, power save. There's a power save mode here. And what this does is when the watch is left alone in the dark overnight, starting around 10 o'clock, if it stays in the dark and it's not being worn, it's not moving, then the display will go blank to save power. So there's that sleep state when you have power save activated. And to take it out of that sleep state, bring all the screen back to life, you press any button, or you just kind of shake the watch because there's a little motion sensor inside of it, or just put it in a well-lit area and everything will come back. But if you never want it to go to sleep like that, you turn power save off right there. So there you go. And we're back to the beginning. There's just one more thing here. It is, I push the adjust button, and here it says user set. Now this has to do with the tide display. So, and unfortunately, since the watch doesn't know of any major bodies of water, oceans or things associated with the Denver time zone. So what I'm going to do here, okay, I hope this makes sense. I'm going to go back to the beginning here, and I'm going to just temporarily set this to the Los Angeles time zone. And now when I push the adjust button, it says, okay, now I can set exactly where in that time zone I think I'm going to be, and it will adjust any of the high and low tide settings according to the place I select here. So there's San Francisco, you know, you'll also have, you got a lot to choose from. Monterey, okay, this is, what is it? Port San Luis, Santa Barbara. Yeah, so you got some settings that are already programmed into it, and you can select one of those other places to be, you know, the one that you want it to be tied into as far as the tide information. So that's kind of fun there. And like I said, the Denver time zone just doesn't have those set in. That's why it said user when I went to, you know, back here to my home screen. Now there's one other thing. Let's say, okay, I'm gonna do this one more thing, just trying to be thorough here. Okay, so let's go to, I'm gonna set this back to the Denver time zone, and now user set, okay, that doesn't, what that means is now if I really want to customize the tide setting based on something, I don't think that what's ever programmed into the watch is exactly right. So maybe I will look up some charts and tables online or whatever and find out exactly when I think high tide is gonna happen. Then when I go to this tide mode here, and I press the adjust button until things start to blink. Now this is where I can select, you know, when I think the high tide is going to happen for wherever I am. Right now, that's what's programmed into the watch. But here, let me just show you something real quick here. If I tap the button and I go to the moon, and then I choose some other date. Let's say I go again to say May 4th. Okay, and then I set to adjust here and things start to blink, and it's telling me high time is going to be at 8:15. But if I say, no, I don't think that's right, I think high tide is supposed to be at 9:30, then that's where I can go ahead and make that adjustment there. And then it's going to kind of recalculate all the high and low tide settings for where I am based on what I just programmed into it. Because I said high tide will be 9:30 on that date. It's going to adjust everything to reflect that for me. So that's kind of cool. Or if I say, oh, no, I was wrong, let's go back to default. Then I just press these two buttons on the right side at the same time. Let's see, there we go. And then that resets it to the default that was already programmed into the watch. So I'm not a big expert on high and low tides. And, you know, I don't know exactly the best way to fine tune this for where I happen to be or where I want to be, but that is a way that you can do that. So a lot of really neat things you can do to customize this watch to exactly what you want to do. So I think there's just one more thing I need to show you here. I've just manually set the date ahead 1 week to show you what the moon phase is going to look like then. But what this watch is supposed to do is show you what is the best view of the moon from where you are, whether you're looking up to the north or towards the south to see the moon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the tide and moon mode here, and then I'm going to press adjust here until, and this is where I can, you know, make some manual adjustments on the high tide stuff. But if I push adjust again, look, north pointing to south, or I can reverse that and say south pointing to north. And now when I go back to my my home screen here, the graphic of the moon is reversed. So now it's showing the lighted side of the moon, if you will, on the left instead of on the right. And so that's that's a customization you have there depending on your perspective looking at the moon. But I think for me, the correct setting is going to be what it was before. So I'm just going to go back and change that real quick to north pointing to south. And I think that's going to be the right thing for me when that day finally comes. This watch has an electro-luminescent backlight that kind of lights up the whole screen in that kind of greenish blue glow. I can make that come on automatically by pressing and holding the light button. And when I do that for just a couple of seconds, you'll see that little light icon appeared right there. That means the watch will automatically turn on the backlight for whatever duration I've selected, in this case 3 seconds. And the way that works is when I'm wearing the watch and I just kind of tilt it up towards my face like that, when it gets into that position, there's a little sensor inside that will turn on the backlight. And it's not working right now because the solar cell works as a light sensor, knowing that, oh, the lights are on, therefore I'm not going to activate the backlight now, but if it were dark and I did that little move there, that would automatically come on without me having to press any other buttons. Just do that move there. And this isn't the best conditions to demonstrate the backlight, but that gives you a certain sense of what that backlight would look like. Yeah, just have that electroluminescent backlight that so many people like so much. Again, coming on when I make that move. Now we can do an official weigh-in. Let's see how this weighs. It's about 55 grams. Okay, compare that to this official Orca G-Shock Square. Very similar weight. Now how about the Gulfman? How does that compare? Oh yeah, again, very similar. How about the GW5700? A little bit more, a little bulkier. How about something like this Bluetooth Casio 52? So right in line with all the rest of those. How about this cheap little one that I got? Oh, only 28 grams for my very first atomic watch that I got a long time ago. So yeah, looking good. It's a good, comfortable weight. It just feels like all my other G-Shocks as far as that goes. I couldn't be happier about the overall look and feel and size. It's really great. Also, of course, let's take a little look at the back of it here. You can see it has that nicely milled kind of, watch back of the case there, held on by 4 tiny screws. And with any luck, you won't have to worry about those screws for a long, long time, because with the automatic charging there with tough solar, you're not going to have to get in there and change batteries on there. But it's showing you water resistant 200 meters or 20 bar, multiband 6, tough solar. There you see the module number 3215, and it's a GWX5700CS made in Thailand. So all those vital specs back there that you need, and this is basically what it looks like. Nice, good resin. I don't know if there are any other strap options for this, or if it would take the same straps as another G-Shock Square. I don't know about that. Maybe I'll look into that later on. But for now, I just like the way this looks and feels, and I'm going to leave it just as it is. This is what it looks like on my wrist. My wrist about 7.5 inches, and that's how much you have hanging out. Excess on the watch band there. I put that in the keeper, and just nice, well balanced. Feels great, looks great. I'm gonna like this one. I might get adventurous and look for those other colors. I'm just afraid they might not be as easy to find or as inexpensive to find. But for now, this is gonna serve me pretty well. So just one more thing to talk about, and I usually talk about this at the beginning of my videos where I talk about Multiband 6, but well, better late than never. So Multiband 6, in case you didn't know, means the watch has a built-in radio receiver, and it can receive atomic time data from any of 6 transmitters in different parts of the world to keep the watch perfectly synchronized to atomic time, right down to the second. So those transmitters, well, there's one in China, there are 2 in Japan, there's also one in the UK and one in Germany, and the 6th one that I rely on is, of course, WWVB out of Fort Collins, Colorado. So if you're within range of any of those transmitters and the watch is set to the correct time zone, it will automatically try at midnight to receive the atomic time data. And so that's going to go for just a few minutes. If it's not successful, it will try again 1 hour later. And if it's not successful again, it'll try 1 hour after that. But as soon as it is successful, it'll stop trying to receive until, the next night at midnight. So I've had this on dozens and dozens of my other watches. The technology works great. Of course, I'm in Utah. I'm only about 350 miles from Fort Collins. So reception is great for me, and this technology has proven itself for me, keeping these watches ready to go, always set to the right time, and I really appreciate that. And of course, they also set themselves automatically for daylight saving time, and that's fun too. So if I want to check and see the last time it was able to set itself, I actually did it this afternoon. So that was today at 12:42. After I got it out of the box, I was playing with it and I had it set itself to the right time. So that's how I do that. Now, if you don't want to wait till midnight, if you want to manually tell it to try receiving that atomic time data at any time, then what I would do from the regular timekeeping screen here, I'll press and hold the search button, just a couple seconds, and then RC lights up there, RCVD. The receiver is trying, and right now it's telling me level 1 reception. Now level 3 reception is the best, and it should be able to sustain level 3 for a few minutes in order to successfully receive and process the atomic time data. It's probably not going to happen today. You know, reception is best overnight, and with the electronic stuff I have running close to my table here, it's probably not going to get any better than that. So this is going to stop after a couple minutes and just kind of give up. But I'm sure, yeah, there's my error code. But tonight, overnight at the regular time, I'm sure it will be able to set itself, or even if I just turn everything off here after the video is done, I could do the manual reception and get it back to the way it needs to be. So I'm not afraid of you know, getting it the way it needs to run automatically here within the next few hours or within the next few minutes. And this watch will become a very well-respected member of my crew, as it were, an addition to my collection. You know, what's not to like? It has the solar power, so I really don't have to worry about batteries. I don't have to worry about setting it. I just have to set the time zone. Everything else basically happens automatically, and the watch is just ready to grab and wear. And that's what I like. And it's tough, and it looks great, and you know, so there you go. So if you're into G-LIDE, if you're a surfer, whatever, you know, you can look for this. Maybe you'll find it. I found it on eBay for you know, again, about $150, a little bit more than that if I had gone through Amazon. Either way, whatever you feel comfortable with. I had a great experience shopping and buying this one. So if you like the colors, you like the style, you like what it does, try it out. And I hope you have a good experience with that. And if there's anything I missed, maybe ask me a question about it and I'll try to explain. Of course, the manual is available also, the official Casio manual you can download from Casio's website. So just look for the module number there and you'll be all set. And I hope you'll be back because, you know, I've actually ordered another watch already. So there will be more episodes to come, and I hope you will be back to watch another episode of The Good Timekeeping Show.